What are your go-to functions in Excel? Do you use maybe 2 or 3? Well, I'm going to show you these 5 dynamic array functions that you can help you to become really efficient and get the job done quickly. Let's have a look. So the sort function allows you to dynamically sort a data set based on a column. So here we have a table which just has got brand and then the sales for each brand. Now I've set this table up as a data table, so you can just use Control and T to create that. So let's see how sort works. So if I equals sort and then tab, my first argument is the array. So that's what information do I want to pull back. So here I'm going to select all of the data within my table. Now the next 2 arguments within the sort function you can see have square brackets. So that basically means that they're optional. So if I was to close my parentheses at this stage and hit return, you can see what it will do is it will sort my data set but based on the first column, which is basically the brand. So you can see that Nike has moved from number 5 and that's moved down towards the bottom there. If I go back into my sort function and just put in a comma, I can go to my next argument. So this next argument just allows me to specify which column do I want to sort my data set for. So let's say that I want to sort this data set, but I want to have the highest sales brand at the top. So what I can do is specify that I want to sort that by the second column, which is my sales column. If I then hit comma, I'll go on to my next argument. So here I get the option, do I want to have those sales in ascending or descending? So in this particular instance, I want to have those as descending with the highest value on top. The final argument, again, because it's in square brackets, is optional. By default, the sort is by rows, so we don't need to use that in this particular example. And if I hit return, what we can see is it has sorted Hummel, which has the highest sales, down to Admiral, which has the lowest sales. What I'm going to do is just going to grab the formatting, because the formatting doesn't come across, and we can see that has pulled that in. Now, because this is a data table, if I was to add in a new brand and then put those in at really high sales, we can see that that will automatically and dynamically just push that to the top of the list. Now that's all very well, but what about if I just want to sort these brands and I don't want to see the sales, but I want to sort them by the sales? So what I can use for that is I can use another function, which is sort by. So if I tab that, again, what I'm going to do is the array is just the data I want to pull back. So if I choose just my brands there and then hit my comma, I want to sort that by my sales array. So if I select my sales array and then hit comma, again, I want to sort that in descending order. So I put -1 and close my parentheses and hit return. You can see that that just returns just the brand. It's sorted by sales, but it doesn't actually pull back the sales value. My next function is unique. So unique allows you to pull out only distinct or unique instances. So in our table here on the right, we have different brands and then we have the sales for each of the regions. So what if I wanted to just understand just a list of the distinct regions? So I can use unique to understand that. Hit tab. My array is the data that I want to return. So in this particular instance then I want to return all of my regions. You can see the next 2 arguments are in square brackets, which effectively means that they're optional. So if I was to close my parentheses at this stage and hit return, what it does, it just gives me the distinct instances of all my regions. So I can see just by looking at this table that I've only got 4 regions. So if I go back into my formula and this time just hit a comma, my next argument just basically says, do I want to return my unique by columns or by rows? So by default, it will be by rows. So if I hit comma again, I go to my last argument. And this one asks me, do I want to return an item that appears only once or return an item that's distinct? So by default, it returns items that are distinct. So we've done that one already. So if I hit true to this one and hit return, it returns South Africa, because you can see on the list here that South Africa only appears once. So that is effectively a unique instance. So that's what the formula pulls back. Now what we can also do is we can use unique on ranges. So if I enter in my formula again, and this time I'm going to understand what is the unique combination between brand and region. So if I select all of my data there and then close my brackets and hit return. What it does is it just eliminates one duplicate in here, which we can see that Adidas Europe is in there twice. So it just pulls back the distinct instances of both the brand and the region. Our next function is the filter function. Now the filter function allows you to filter any column based on a condition you specify. So here on the left, let's say we want to just create a little mini table that pulls back just all of the brands where the sales are equal to or greater than $500,000. So we can use the filter function to achieve that. So if I enter in my function, so filter and then tab, my first argument is effectively my array. Now if you remember from the previous examples, array is just what data do we want to pull back. So in this instance, we want to pull back both the brand and the sales. So I'll select all of that region, comma to go to our next argument. Next one is what do we want to include? So what are we filtering for? So in this instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the sales here, and then I'm going to put in an argument to say, well, if those sales are greater than or equal to the specified target we have in here in F4, comma to that. My next argument is, again, it's in square brackets, so it's optional, but if empty, what value do we want to put in? So in that instance, we just want to close our parentheses and hit return. And what that's done is it has just pulled back all of the brands then where the sales are above $500,000. So what I can do is just grab some of the formatting here and pull that down. Now that looks good, but what if I want to actually sort this by the highest to the lowest? So what we can actually do is we can use one of our previous dynamic formulae, which is sort, and just wrap that around our filter function. So if I put in my sort, open my parentheses, my array is just what has come back from my filter, comma to that. My sort index, which is what is the column or the index that I want to sort by. So in that instance, it's the second column because I want to sort by sales, comma to that. Then I want that to be descending. So I want the highest sales on the top. So if I go -1, close my parentheses and hit return, and you can see then that returns back Hummel, which is the top sales brand, down to the lowest sales brand. So using them together, using the dynamic formula together, is a really cool trick. So the sequence function does exactly what it says in the tin. It returns a sequence of numbers. So let's just go in and see how it works. So if I enter in my sequence formula, my first argument is rows. So how many rows do I want to put a number on? So if I went 10 to that, now you can see my next three arguments, in fact, are all optional because they have square brackets around them. So let's enter them in so we can see how it works. If I want more than one column with my numbers, I can simply put in 2 to that, and then hit comma again. What number do I want to start with? So in this particular instance, I want to start with the 1 and then comma again, and then which step in each number. So do I want to count by 1, by 2s or by 3s? So in this particular instance, I just want to go 1 to that, close my parentheses, and can see what it's done is it's created a sequence of 10 numbers, 10 on the left and 10 on the right, so 10 in each column. Well, you may ask, how is this useful? Well, I find this really useful for to-do lists. So in this particular instance, what I want to do is I want to put numbers against each of these to-do items. So I can use sequence in this instance. My number of rows, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another formula, which is a count A, open my brackets, and just count all of the instances of text within column C. If I close that parentheses, now what I want to do is I don't want to count the to-do at the top. I just want the number to start on the row below, so on row 5. So if I go -1 to that and then close my parentheses for my sequence function, you can see then what it's done is it's assigned then a number against each of these to-do items. Now where it's really cool is that if I add an extra item, so and hit return, it will automatically assign a new number because it effectively counts all of that text in column C. What's also cool is that if I decide that actually I want to delete one of these actions now and delete that, it will automatically resum these numbers here on the left. So our next function is the Xlookup. Now if you haven't used the Xlookup function before, it's just like a VLOOKUP, but it has superpowers. So let's go in and see how it works. So we have a table here which has employees, brand and sales. And what I want to do is I want to find the sales and the employees for the Adidas brand. So if I enter in my Xlookup tab, the lookup value that we need is the array or the argument that we're looking to get back, comma, Our lookup value is where do we want to find that particular instance. So in this case, we want to find that within our brand column here, comma to that. Our return array is, well, which column then do we want to return our answer from? So that's going to be column D here. Now there's an extra couple of optional arguments that you can add. So you can build in some error handling. So if error, comma to that. And then if I just build in not found, so that will effectively issue back not found if we can't find the answer, comma to that. Do we want an exact match or do we want any other match? So in this particular instance, I want an exact match, comma to that. And then do we want to search from first to last or last to first? So do we want to start from the top or do we want to start from the bottom? So in this instance, I just want to return to the default position. So I just want to close my parentheses and hit return. And we can see then that's easily found the sales for the Adidas brand. Now, one of the things that Xlookup will overcome is that for a VLOOKUP, you can't look up to the left. So if I want to look up the employees for Adidas, that won't work with a VLOOKUP, but for Xlookup, that's no problem. So if I enter in my VLOOKUP again, I want to find my brand, comma to that. I want to find that within this brand column here, comma, and then I want to find the result from the employees here on the left. And then I can just close my parentheses because the rest of the arguments are optional and hit return. And that will find the employees really easy. Now, if you want to learn more about Xlookup, I'll include a video just up the top where I go into 4 or 5 different examples of where you can really get the benefit out of it. I hope you found that useful. Check out this video up here for more about Xlookup and this video down here for a little bit more about the filter function.